So with the release of the latest 2 new chapters, there is a lot of chaos among the One Piece fandom regarding Luffy's awakening, while some are appreciating the new look of Luffy, while others are now comparing the Gear 5 with cartoons. But the real reason behind the comparison between Luffy and cartoon is not because of the way he looks in his awakening, but rather how he fights. There were already many instances in the One Piece series where Luffy had defeated many strong foes with somewhat goofy methods. Take the example of Enel, Gecko Moria and Cracker. But this time Luffy's goofiness is on the whole other level than before. Let me start from the beginning to give you a better picture of the scenario. While in his dragon form, a giant hand approaches Kaido. The hand was so strong, it easily tossed Kaido back to the rooftop. He then tightly wraps his arm around his body and swings him around before slamming him back and forth on the surface. Kaido eventually recovers and admits he's glad Luffy is still alive before firing below breath at him. Luffy, however, grabs the ground and makes it rubber, deflecting the fire back at him. Though hit by his own attack, Kaido recovers and apologizes for CP0 sabotaging their fight. But Luffy accepts his apology and prepares to finish his fight with him. With their battle now resumed, Kaido states that he was sure Luffy had died, to which the latter agrees. He watches Luffy bounce off the ground repeatedly and deduces that he has awakened his Paramecia Devil Fruit. Since he is able to turn his surroundings into rubber, however, he notes that something does not add up, as Luffy's transformation should be more reminiscent of a Zoan user. Kaido lunges at Luffy and attempts to devour him, but Luffy bounces around his insides before using Gomu Gomu no Fusen to expand not only his body, but Kaido's as well. The fierce Kaido inflates like a balloon in the mid-air without even bursting, which really gives a Tom and Jerry vibe to be true. Yamato and Momonosuke, who are watching the battle from a distance, are confused by what they are seeing, wondering if Kaido getting fatter was just one of his forms. While Kaido becomes frustrated at his body gaining the properties of rubber, Luffy sees 2 lights from inside him, which turn out to be his eyes, and grabs through them to latch onto his nose before using Gomu Gomu no Dasutsu rocket to free himself from Kaido's body. He then begins to deflate, which sends him flying into the clouds, and re-emerges the size of a giant by using Gomu Gomu no Gigant. Much to everyone's astonishment, Kaido once again bites Luffy, but the latter, taking advantage of his size and Kaido's serpentine form, uses Gomu Gomu no Nawatobi to use Kaido's body as a jump rope. As they descend back towards the rooftop, Kaido fires another Be on the Lookout breath at Luffy, which hits him directly and causes him to fall again. However, Luffy becomes frustrated and begins spinning his legs so fast that he is able to run across the air to return to the rooftop. It is gonna hurt, but this part was really illogical, I have to accept. As he prepares another attack, Kaido strikes him with Kosan's Ragnaroku, sending Luffy's head crashing through the ground and to the lower floors. Much to everyone's shock, he pulls himself back up to the roof and begins to revert back to normal, showing that he becomes extremely fatigued and visibly ages after using Gear 5. Kaido assures him that he can die and someone will share the story of his fight, but Luffy refuses, stating that all that is left after dying is bones. Yamato and Momonosuke watches that is really is Luffy, but his hair and clothes turning white made him hard to recognize. As he prepares to reactivate Gear 5, Luffy reminds himself of several people he has made promises to or is indebted to, such as Momonosuke, Tama, Kinemon, and Pedro. Kaido tells Luffy to be careful, or he will die, but Luffy refuses to be afraid of death and tells his heart to start beating louder, allowing him to reactivate Gear 5. He is suddenly struck again by Kaido's Hasaikai, but this time his head wraps around the weapon and it spikes, causing it to take on a crescent shape. For many it was this panel that compelled them to compare Luffy to cartoon characters, but for me it was actually funny and relevant to One Piece, as Luffy has the properties of rubber, so it easily justifies his deformed face. He begins running away in pain, but another blow from Kaido squashes him to the ground. Luffy uses the ground as a springboard to launch himself back up and towards a rock formation, which he once again launches himself off of to return to his normal size. Kaido, still trying to make sense of Luffy's new fighting style, watches as Luffy approaching him with his arms spinning like helicopter blades. Luffy strikes Kaido with a punch that seemingly goes through his head before knocking him to the ground, while remarking on how fun this is. So to summarize the situation, there were many goofy and cartoonish scenes in the new chapters, and the only one illogical scene was Luffy running to the rooftop, which was clearly a cartoon reference. But most of the other things he did was funny, but totally relevant. After the long tense battle of Kaido and Luffy, we got to see somewhat of the different approach towards the boss fight in the anime history, and it is still holding attention of the fans, which is great. So in the conclusion, this was the story behind the Luffy tunes. Thank you for watching.